Hello, and welcome to another amazing episode of the crime series. In today's episode, we will look at politicians who have been directly linked to criminality. From Okoth Bado, Aisha Jumwa, Eric Wamombi and Didmus Baraza, to Babu Owino, Nancy Baraza, Evans Kidero and John Waluke. These are some of the most notable names of politicians who have found themselves on the wrong side of the law. Some accused of murder, attempted murder, theft, or slapping and pinching people's noses without their consent. But before we continue, kindly like and subscribe to our YouTube for more amazing stories. So, let's dive right into today's episode. Number 1. Okoth Bado. The former Migori County boss is expected back in court on 30th January 2025 to know his fate in the case involving the murder of Rongo University second-year student Sharon Otieno. Sharon Otieno was brutally murdered on the night of that, September 2018, and her body dumped in a forest in Omabay County. Governor Obado was charged alongside Caspar Obiero and his personal assistant, Michael Oyamo. The lead investigator told a Nairobi court that the car which was used in the abduction and murder of Sharon Otieno belonged to Olivia Odhiambo, wife to Caspar Obiero. Sharon was abducted alongside Barack Oduor, a journalist working with Nation Media Group. The journalist narrowly escaped the abductors after jumping off the speeding vehicle. Sharon was later found dead the following day. The prosecution side told the court that the car in question had its tracker tampered with on the day that Sharon was abducted and murdered together with her unborn child. That very night, Obiero helped Oyamo acquire falsified medical records at Kisii Referral Hospital in a bid to conceal their actions. A medical officer, Cliff Momanyi, confessed to having filled the medical reports without physically examining Michael Oyamo. The report indicated that Oyamo had been attacked by unknown persons and showed signs of strangulation. The clinical officer had also recommended that he be transferred from Kisii to Kisumu Hospital. But all these, according to the lead investigator, were attempts to conceal the duo's involvement in the abduction and killing of Sharon Otieno and her unborn child. Obado's involvement. The governor was dragged into the case after it was discovered that he was in a romantic relationship with Sharon Otieno and that he was responsible for Sharon's pregnancy. The governor told the court that he was in an open relationship with Sharon and it was not a secret as everyone in the county offices knew about him. He also claimed that his family knew about the relationship. Obado's son is said to have received messages from Sharon informing him that he was about to have another baby brother. Detectives also confirmed that Sharon had received threatening messages from a woman asking her to stay away from her husband. 7 years after Sharon's murder, a Nairobi court is set to make a ruling on whether Governor Okoth Bado and his co-accused have a case to answer or not. All eyes are now on the judiciary. Number 2. Didmus Baraza. On the evening of 8th August 2022, Didmus Baraza and Brian Haemba, both of whom were contesting for Kimilili parliamentary seat, clashed at Chebukwabi polling station as they had gone back to witness the tallying of the votes. After a 3-minute altercation, Brian Haemba recounts that he and his team embarked to a different polling station but were intercepted by Didmus Baraza. Baraza, who was the incumbent, ordered that Haemba and his team should not be allowed to leave. Haemba recounts that his driver Joshua Nasoko ignited the vehicle in defiance, prompting Baraza to pull out his firearm and shoot at Brian's forehead. Brian is said to have bled profusely as he was rushed to Kimilili Sub-County Hospital where he succumbed while undergoing treatment. Bungoma County Commissioner Samuel Kimiti confirmed the statement by Brian Haemba and urged Baraza to surrender himself to the police. Baraza was arrested 2 days later and was detained for 2 weeks pending investigations. He pleaded not guilty to the murder of Brian Olunga. On 20th July 2023, he was acquitted, with the judge claiming that the evidence adduced did not put him at the center of the murder. In her ruling, Lady Justice Rose Ougo said that the prosecution produced insufficient evidence. Number 3. Aisha Jumwa. In the evening of 15th October 2019, Malindi Member of Parliament, Aisha Jumwa, stormed the residence of Reuben Katana, where the ODM party was training its agents ahead of the Ganda Wards by-election. Mr. Otieno, who testified before court, recounted how Jumwa stormed and interrupted the training session that was preceded by several ODM leaders, including Magarini MP Michael Kingi. The witness recounts how Jumwa forced her way into the tent, boxing anyone who dared stand on her way. As the fracas continued, Mr. Okuto, who was Jumwa's personal aide, rushed to the car and armed himself with a firearm before returning to the tent. Mr. Otieno told the court that Jumwa punched him on the chest and on his face, prompting him to run for his life. As he took cover in a nearby house, a person next to him was hit by a bullet. He would later learn that it was Mr. Gumbao. Otieno told the court that he saw Okuto holding his firearm moments before the shooting. However, he did not see him fire the shots. Aisha Jumwa was acquitted after she was nominated to the cabinet by President William Ruto. Through her lawyer Danstan Omari, they managed to have the DPP write to a high court in Mombasa to drop the charges against Aisha Jumwa, citing lack of enough evidence to support the charges. She was charged alongside Geoffrey Otieno Okuto, who is now carrying the burden of the murder case, with Aisha Jumwa taken as a state witness. Number 4. Eric Wamombi. Eric's wife Catherine Nyambura died mysteriously on May 2020, and her body was discovered in a dam. The case was first approached as a possible suicide, but preliminary findings indicate that the victim had no visible injuries. Detectives suspected Catherine's death to be a possible murder case, leading to the arrest and grilling of her husband, Eric Wamombi, who was at the time serving as a member of County Assembly for Konyu Ward in Madeira constituency. However, nothing much came from the grilling, as the legislator was never charged for murder. Number 5. Babu Owino. The vibrant legislator for Nairobi's Embakasi East constituency found himself in the confines of police cell on January 17, 2020, after having a night of fun at Nairobi's big club. It is said that Mr. Owino checked into the club at around midnight and made merry until sunshine came. The beautiful night of drinking, smoking and dancing with beautiful Nairobi babes, however, turned ugly after the resident DJ was shot twice on the neck. It is alleged that the shooter was Babu Owino. Babu Owino and DJ Evolve were said to be longtime friends, and on the fateful night, they were seen sharing drinks and exchanging banters. Towards the morning, CCTV footage released by the club shows Babu Owino pulling out his firearm and shooting at a man from a very close range. The victim is DJ Evolve, as a CCTV camera shows him being pulled outside to the car parking area. Babu Owino drives the DJ to Nairobi Hospital and even foots his medical bill. This was shortly before he was arrested, as the former DCI boss George Kinoti preferred attempted murder charges against him. However, the case took an unprecedented turn as the victim joined the defensive side as a witness. All the 10 witnesses, including DJ Evolve, told the court that they did not see Babu Owino with the gun. Neither did they see him firing the shots. DJ Evolve has also told the court that since the unfortunate ordeal, Babu has been helping him. The legislator hinted at organizing a medical trip to India for the DJ. Owino was acquitted for the charges of attempted murder. The legislator is now gearing up for Nairobi's gubernatorial seat. Number 6. John Waluke. In June 2020, the Magistrate Court found Sirisia Member of Parliament John Waluke guilty of defrauding the National Cereals and Produce Board NCPB 297 million. The legislator was slapped with a 1 billion fine or 67 years imprisonment, a move that he appealed at the High Court. The High Court, in 2022, affirmed the Magistrates Court sentencing, sending Waluke to jail for 67 years. He however filed an appeal at the Appellate Court. Pending his appeal, Waluke spent 4 months at Committee Maximum Prison. In the August 2022 polls, the lawmaker retained his parliamentary seat, having contested on a Jubilee Party ticket. However, shortly after the election results were announced, he jumped ship and joined the Kenya Kwanza government. He was later found not guilty by the Court of Appeal. Number 7. Evans Kidero. The former Nairobi County boss found himself in the corridors of justice for reasons he could never have imagined before the afternoon of 6 September 2013. This was after the Nairobi County Woman Representative, Rachel Shebesh, visited the county offices in solidarity with striking workers whose salaries had been delayed. After addressing the demonstrators, Shebesh made her way to the governor's office, seeking his address. A heated argument ensued before the governor is seen gesticulating and slapping Shebesh, who for a moment loses her consciousness and is held up by her security aides.
You're
The woman rep is heard asking in shock and disbelief before Kidero retreats back to his chambers. She recorded a statement at KSCC police station about the incident. Later that evening, Kidero called a press briefing and while he admitted that a scuffle had ensued at the governor's office earlier that day, he claimed not to remember slapping anyone. He went ahead to record a statement with the police at Central Police Station. What followed was a legal battle, but the two parties later opted for an out-of-court settlement. Shebesh would later reveal that Kidero paid Tagarin 30 million Kenya shillings for a slap, making it arguably one of the most expensive slaps in the history of our country. Number 8. Nancy Baraza. On the New Year's Eve of 2012, Kenya's first woman Deputy Chief Justice, Nancy Baraza, found herself in an altercation that could change her entire career life. She got into an altercation with Rebecca Kerubo, a security guard at Toy Market, after disregarding the security protocol to be frisked. She was accused of pinching the nose of Kerubo and pulling out a firearm on her. She issued a press statement denying the allegation.
Kufika kwa karibu na pharmacy, ndio mama Kenya alifanya, nikamwambia excuse madam, I have to check your bag. Kenya alifanya ila tu alifanya alinichuna mapua na akaniambia you should know people. Sasa mimi nami nilishangaa hata machozi ilitoka. Sasa nikashindwa hata mkubwa anakujanga akiwa huko anafungua kibeti unaangalia. Sio huyo peke yake, Charity Ngiru anakujanga tunamwangalia na anajua sheria ni muda kidogo mama akakuja akiwa amekasirika sana. Mimi naendelea search tukiwa na mwenzangu. Kitu alisema aliambia, baadaye ndio nilijua alikuwa na podcast. Kamwambia alikuwa kando juu watu walikuwa hapo wengi. Kamwambia, I want you to shoot this lady now. Sasa mimi nikachukulia ile tu mama, unajua si wanawake tuko na hasira ya rahisi sana. Nikachukua tu ni sawa. Nikamwambia it's okay madam. Sasa huyo mama ule podcast wake hakuna kitu alichukua. Mama mwenyewe alipotea muda kidogo, baadaye akarudi na gani. Akaniambia want to you now. If you want I can kill you now. Sasa nikaanza kulia nikamwambia madam, please madam. Sasa ndio sijui aliona hao watu wengi ndio akaacha hiyo karudisha gani chini. Ni hatua yenye nilichukua nilitoroka.
The Judicial Service Commission (JSC) recommended disciplinary action against her conduct. She was subsequently suspended as President Mwai Kibaki formed a tribunal to investigate her conduct in line with Article 168 of the Kenyan Constitution. The tribunal found her guilty and proposed that she be sacked. On 9th August, she filed a notice of appeal against the decision to have her sacked, citing dissatisfaction. 2 months later, she withdrew her petition and resigned, claiming that she did not stand a chance of a fair hearing, since the Chief Justice, Willy Mutunga, had publicly discussed the matter on national television. Kerubo's defense was led by a young lawyer, Irungu Kangata. He admits that the publicity from the case gave him political mileage and contributed to his clinching of the Murang'a senatorial seat. Nancy Baraza and Kangata would later reunite at the University of Nairobi, where she was the lecturer. At the time, Kangata was taking his master's degree at the institution. Kangata hinted at plans by Kerubo to sue Nancy Baraza for civil damages. However, Kerubo and her husband relocated to South Sudan when the dust had settled and have since maintained a very low profile. For these and more interesting stories, kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel.